And we are here to tell y'all a little bit about what we did this summer with GIS. Each of us had our own projects that we did in various forms and shapes, which we will tell you about. So up first is me. And then after I finish up, I will introduce the next presenter, who will reveal themselves to be the next presenter when the time comes. So yeah, what I did this summer. So the main GIS project I was working on was with Dr. Shelby Anderson in the anthropology department. We were looking at the Bering Land Bridge National Park and Preserve. This is the first figure that kind of shows the area of it. It was a project for the National Park Service and the tribes in the area. And so something that I had to tackle that I wasn't familiar with is naming places with multiple languages and differentiating which language is being used. In the case of like Shishmaref and Kotzebue, the names come from Russian, but the indigenous names come from Inupiaq, of the commonly referred to as Inuit people. So yeah, to make this, I got a remote sensing land cover data set and put a hill shade over it. I think the hill shade was the one I chose to be transparent. And yeah, I think that is, yes.
Are we going to do open question format, or are we going to do something?
Yeah, I think,
I don't want to
yeah.
interrupt you if you have a train of thought.
If somebody has a question, feel free to raise your hand.
How did you get this project?
Yes, I was going to mention that at the very end. I talked to David Banas, who is sitting here among us. He is the director of CSER, which is the Center for Spatial Analysis and something starting with R. Research. That's it. So I talked with David. And
Just say season.
CSER. And yeah, so Dr. Anderson, I guess, came to CSER and he put out the word that they were looking for somebody to work on a project, and you know, she interviewed a few people and chose me. So I feel very lucky that she did. So yeah, that's this area in general is the Seward Peninsula, with the area of focus, of course, being the park. So part of this is to look at the long, deep geologic changes in the area. And so when we hear of the Bering Land Bridge, we might think of like a little skinny little like thing that you have to maybe trapeze a little bit. But no, actually using a bathymetry data set that I also found online, you can constrain it to approximately the sea level that we knew it to be at the time. With the glaciers having so much of the world's water held up, the oceans were of course lower. And so more land area was exposed that now is covered up with water. So yeah, I used that bathymetry data and constrained it to only show above about 130 meters down, and it gave me this, which is approximately the area of the Bering Land Bridge. So having seen this, it makes a lot more sense that people, animals, all kinds of plants as well can cross the gap, and all of the connections that we see between all kinds of biota are between both. And something else about this, using this large of scales, north arrows kind of fell apart. If you put a north arrow at a given spot, it won't be the same for another spot. And so I had to get used to using a graticule, or the lines of latitude and longitude, to tell people, A, what latitudes are the scale bar is accurate to, and B, show the curvature that high at that high of latitudes, so that people can see, okay, this isn't just north is that way. Yes?
How did you choose which projection you were going to use? Did you look up like a reference? Or
Yeah, Google was my best friend in that question, and so I settled on Alaska Albers, since it gives a pretty true land area, and is also best suited for just showing the area. I think this one is also Alaska Albers, tilted somewhat to also accommodate the eastern portion of Siberia. So, especially with Seward Peninsula, I had to rotate quite a bit to make it all fit cleanly. Otherwise, it's weirdly diagonal. So, yeah. And something else about this project is there were a lot of labels. I had not previously used so many labels and so many little, like, coping with the small, sometimes, areas that I had to label. And so it was a bunch of adjusting size, adjusting font, realizing I had to use a different font, standardizing certain labels to a font and realize I changed one and it needs to be resized or something like that. So this one in particular is more representative of kind of how a lot of the maps with the project were. Some of the maps show sensitive archaeological sites that I'm not able to publicize for maybe obvious reasons. We don't want, even though many of these areas are very remote, there are people who will sometimes go to known archaeological sites and plunder them, and we obviously don't want that. So, before we move on to the other portion, is there any more questions? Dempsey.
Yeah. For when you're doing all like the work here and all the lid, like was that all done in like Arc, or did you do like a ticket like Adobe Illustrator or something?
This is all Arc. So all this curved text is just the curved text that you can place. With this project, I became allergic to dynamic labels, and so all of these I just placed myself exactly where I wanted them.
Do you use annotation, or did you do like create lines to put them on?
I would usually create lines, but for things like the place names like Wales or Kinnigan, I would annotate those because those were pretty standard across a lot of the maps. Yes.
I didn't have my listening ears on. What the end goal of these is to put them somewhere? What was the purpose of this?
It was an archaeological overview and assessment. So it kind of, for the Park Service and the tribes in the area, joining together all the work that's been done over the past 100 years into just a single place. Yes?
So Aaron, I'll note that you should have shown your starting point. The rough cut report with the really lousy maps in it.
Yes.
Because it would have made for a great comparison of
Yeah.
what the idea was and then what it turned out to be.
Yes. Imagine, if you will, basically Bing maps with certain just points laid onto it. Some of them were in topographic style, some of them were just kind of the basic ArcGIS base maps. And so doing it this way really zhuzhed them up. I wish I had put them, but trust me.
I would argue there was only one map in the entire report that I think could have stood on its own.
And I think somebody had made that previously, and I think that might have been the Bering Land Bridge one that I was kind of mimicking that one.
How many maps total did you make?
23.
Wow.
It originally was 12, and I worked too efficiently and got more assigned. So, yes.
You said on your first slide that you used a remote sensing data set. Can you
Yes.
say more about that?
I think I used Landsat 9. I think, if I remember right, at the time, I'm now in your remote sensing course, so I'm learning more of the particulars. I kind of bumbled my way to finding a pretty good one. The first group land cover set I found, I think was taken in the winter. So all of this brown that shows like scrub, it's basically the whole area. And that didn't really show a good representation of, the long periods of time. But yeah, so it was a raster set.
I would argue one of the bigger challenges was when you have to zoom in far enough that the raster data no longer worked.
Yeah, it was very grainy. There's the ones in particular that showed like the finest details of where the sites were that I can't really show. That's where it fell apart, and so in that case I had to use contour lines, which was an undertaking in itself, deciding like how far spaced. I probably had 10 iterations of contours just until I found that sweet spot. And yeah, there were maybe 4 maps that used contours, and each of them had different intervals just depending on the scale and extent. So, yeah. Any other questions? Cool. So, the second thing I did this summer was field work. There's me standing in the Columbia River. I was on a few different surveys. This one, we were looking for flowering rush, a very aggressive invasive plant in the Columbia River. And the Army Corps of Engineers were kind enough to boat us around, which made it much faster. We surveyed Lake Umatilla above the John Day Dam, and then Lake Celilo below the John Day Dam. We were sort of holding the line at John Day Dam, hoping that flowering rush wouldn't get further downriver. Spoiler alert, we found it, so it is in fact traveling downriver. And this was a lot of it. When we found it, we would get these trash bags, get in the water, and just pull it by hand as much as we could. Certain areas, it was just so much that we couldn't dedicate the time to pulling it, but you had a tablet that had Survey 123 where we would mark the location, and then Jacob, the one who is currently pulling up flowering rush in that photo, would import it to ArcGIS Pro to report to the Army Corps. This was an Umpqua, and when we didn't have the boat available, the big boat, this was a small, higher elevation lake. We would use kayaks, thatch rake to kind of scrape the bottom, since at that time we were inventorying for the Forest Service just what they had in their lakes. And so we had this tablet right here that we would log what we found, what abundance, and we had a GPS tracker, which is kind of hard to see, but it would link up to the tablet and give us a definite route that we traveled as we were doing our surveys, which helped a whole lot. And I'll overview a lot of the apps that we used at the end of this little bit. This is in John Day. There's me. There's a lot of plants. This, apparently, according to the people that I was with, it was not like this 2 years before. Don't know what happened. Plants, apparently. But we got to use some manual land survey geography equipment. I used to work as a land surveyor, so it was nice to get reaffiliated with setting one of those things up, making it level. And I just think they look cool. Everybody looks cool when they're looking through a level. So, useful apps and programs in the field. If you are interested to go out into the field at some point, Survey 123 has connections with ArcGIS Pro. It's pretty easy to import from the app into your program, and then you can make your maps from that. Gaia GPS is really good for backcountry navigation, but the free version is kind of paltry in what it has available. You can't download maps, so if you're like way out in the middle of nowhere, no cell service, then you're not really able to use it that well, which is where downloading offline Google Maps really helps fill that gap. I highly recommend anytime you're going on a road trip, downloading the map. So even if you have if you lose cell service, then you will still be able to get around. Watch Duty is good for wildfire tracking. I think these days it is very well publicized, but if you happen to not know it, it can be a lifesaver. You will get alerts if there's an evacuation order in your area, and it's really essential these days. And iNaturalist, I like iNaturalist. You can see what birds, plants, and animals are in the area, and also if you happen to have a picture, you can upload it and the geotag for the picture, which most photos taken with cameras have that enabled by default. So you just upload the photo and it knows where it was taken. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening. And before, yeah.
I'll go next, but
Okay.
did anyone use Merlin out there?
Yes, actually, that's a good point. I forgot about that one. Merlin is also really good. That's the one with Sound ID, right? So it's for birds. I think Cornell makes it.
Yeah.
And
love that.
yeah, so if you hear a bird and you can't quite see it, you can pull up the Sound ID on Merlin, and it's usually pretty good as far as identifying. Or at least it's better than me. So that's something. Yes.
Was this a work program for the Army Corps of Engineers or something you were doing through the school?
It was a research institute at the school that contracted with the Army Corps. So how I found my way there is I had an internship digitizing documents, glorified scanning, and yeah, I just showed up and made friends with the people I worked with, and then summer was coming and they asked if I wanted to lend a hand. So that's a testament to networking can be life-saving. Yes.
The plant you were tracking, you say creeping rush? It was
Flowering rush.
flowering rush. Does this spread by rhizomes, or how did it?
Exactly.
Okay.
So-
it's probably above the dam, I would assume then.
Yeah, above the dam, below the dam. Who knows how far it will spread? Hopefully no more. But yeah, rhizome, which means that the roots will spread, and as the roots spread, it'll plug up from those roots. And the downside also is if one of those roots break off, floats down, plants somewhere else, then it's spread. So very invasive, crowds out native plants, and thus the animals that depend on them.
Imagine some function of the dam probably breaks up the rhizomes and helps spread.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't help that it's so many people boat in the area, which there's nothing you can really do to stop that, but all of the wave action really helps to, especially if it's just taking root on a rock, then it can really easily just be transported somewhere else. Yes.
You used Survey 123.
Mhm.
Did you evaluate using Esri field maps? And if so, why did you choose to go with Survey 123 instead?
I did not make the decision to use Survey 123, and after the survey, the most I was involved with the project after the survey is sending in the photos I took of everything, so I do not know. is my answer. But before Travis tells us about his, is there any more questions?
I have a good answer for that. I'll turn it up.
Yes, please. Thank you.
I think.
Make my own desktop. So my name is Travis. I have been a student at PSU for I think close to 5 years now. I got my undergrad in anthropology, where I also worked with Shelby for a very short amount of time. I was originally intending to be an archaeologist, but things in my life changed. And through those pursuits, I found GIS. And beyond that, found myself here. Over the summer, I can keep my trains of thought going. Survey 123. I worked with a group called the Tualatin River Keepers to create a river monitoring tool using Survey 123. We chose Survey 123 because of the licensing requirements that are needed for field maps are a little too demanding for a nonprofit to afford, or to manage all that extra stuff for a small survey. So the program that they're running is called the Tualatin River Runners, and they needed 2 reports. They were going to go out with probably clipboards and record different sightings they saw along the river. And I reached out to them right after they started working on this program and thought that Survey 123 would be a really good example for this. I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm going to do the risky thing and do a live demo of Survey 123. So Survey 123, if you're not familiar, you can create a series of questions that allow you to collect data points geographically or not. I think they really want it to be used as a more broad application. But with mine, I have it set up so there are different categories of observation, and I will just run the demo so we can see how this actually works. Or not. There we go. So I have it set up to where you put your river ID in. So, 3, 2, 2. You can mark whether it's an immediate concern. If it is, it'll pop up. It'll tell you who you need to contact. We don't have anyone to contact right now. You can put in what kind of observation it is. So if it's a plant, like an invasive or a non-invasive important species that you want to mark, click that, take a picture, and then move on. And that will take you to the next window, which is chosen conditionally based off of the previous one. So if we do water intake instead, you'll get water intake questions, etc. And you go through and you can answer the questions, so we'll make you do that. And then, sure, while we're here, it'll show you where you're at in the map. So the big challenge with this project was having them operate this while in a kayak somewhere on, oh, we're going all over the place. And a lot of my design choices were made while figuring out kind of that momentum that you get while you're in a kayak. So you're in a river, you're moving. Boston River is a very calm river, but you're still getting a little bit of momentum on a good day. And so the idea was to have this work. When you're in a kayak, you see what you're going to record. That's when you mark down the observation on that first page. And as you're floating toward it, you can record the options. And then when you're at the thing, or close enough to the thing for recording data, you can put a pin in it and it will save. And in this program, there are 14 volunteers that have different sections of the river, and they all collect points in their own section. And so far, you can tell which ones are not in the river, are probably them testing the app out. But along the river, these are all the different observations they've made. So all the surveys each get their own point. You click on it, and it'll give you all the information they took for the point. So you get a picture. What are they observing in this one? They are observing a water outfall. So this is where water is entering into the river. And then filter it. Observation type. So you can filter it based on what you want to see. You can do a soup plants. Plants are nice to look at. Down here, we're getting more information about plant observations. This one, they are observing an unknown but dense outgrowth of something onto a tree. It's really useful data. Sure. Please, Aaron.
What will this data be used for?
The river keepers are hoping to use some of the better data, the ones I'm not clicking on, obviously, to create an advocacy tool to show different organizations that manage river, clean water services, the city of Tualatin, city of Tiger, the Parks and Recs departments, to work for grant funding or to get more awareness and resources to help improve the quality of the river. River keepers' main goals are to get more people on the river for recreation, and it's kind of that positive feedback loop where you get more people on the river, seeing their environment, they'll take better care of their environment, and they'll be reporting more of that. So yeah, so eventually we're talking between a story map and or an experience builder app. Get this to sign in for me. Block was on. I'm a great presenter, aren't I? I'm trying my hardest. But so here's a quick experience builder app I made for it, just so you can see the number of reports that have been made. This is live linked to the survey data. So we can filter out based off the observation, just like in the other one, but everything's color coded, so it's a little bit easier to manage, because for some reason in Survey 123 you can't do that with all the data points. And with how messy the data is in Survey 123, I'm not super surprised. But you get all these different data points for, these are the different tables for the different observation types. There's Mark. Mark's great. He's testing me out right there. He's the head of the River Runners and the program. Some nice analytics that you can get. Looking for the word cloud that popped up for a second. You can see there's a lot of different stuff that you can view within there. If there's anything I can stop on, if anyone wants to see it, please let me know. There it is. River.
Fitting.
But something like this, you can take the data, have it live fed into an experience builder app and click on it. You can pick and choose the different attributes that you want to show for that object. There's a lot of data on here. It's all in the cloud, so it's a little slow. But for here, we can see on the water outfall, some more water entering into the river. They want to know about that because it might be some irrigation runoff. It might be some new construction that's new parking lots displacing too much water into a certain amount of area or part of the river and bringing debris into it. And yeah, that's pretty much what I would have. To get this project with the River Runners, I just contacted everyone on the website, took all their emails, sent them an email saying, hey, I'm a graduate student, I like maps, and I feel like you could use them. And luckily, they had just done, they did a contract job with someone from the USGS and made a new map that they're putting out at all the parks along the river, so that way they can advocate for more areas. Like you can't see where it stops up here once it loads, like up here. Up here, I believe, is Ruth Bridge, and over here they're trying to get more people in Cornelius to have that opportunity to go out on the river for recreation. So they're trying to find out more about where to put new put-in locations and find any hazards or issues with people being on the river up there. But in my time getting to know them, rude. Oh, I hit the button. I spent the summer troubleshooting this app with them. It took me 3 or 4 times around the river reorganizing the survey because I would float past the thing that I was trying to survey and go back up to the thing over there. Or I'd have to figure out how to use my camera. I had to get a little bag to hold my phone. And kind of troubleshoot a lot of the technical, physical aspect of doing these survey points. And then volunteering with them to get to know them as a nonprofit. I volunteered with many of their youth programs, being a safety boat for them, just going out with them and doing observations and testing my app, but also going out and just being there as another adult for these programs in case kids come over. Please do.
Do they plan to make this app public facing, or is this internal?
We've talked a little bit about having a public facing version of it. A big reason that if we did that, there would be different questions. It would be a lot simpler, more to have a river runner go out there and make a better observation.
But could you parse your data that you already have to make some of it public facing?
Yeah.
Some of it internal.
Definitely, especially with Experience Builder. There's a lot of stuff under the hood for this web app in Esri where you can filter all the sensitive data out. Just have a public-facing map that they can interact with. They can even do, they can have a survey pop up on the map, so if they're out on the river looking at the map, you have a little drawer pop out and you can do a little community survey that'll put a point right on the map where you are. And then with Survey 123, you don't need to have any kind of license if you're making an anonymous survey contribution. Like in my survey, I have to ask who the survey person is. So that would keep track of which river runner is doing recordings, but if it was in public, that's all anonymous data. And if you wanted to have field workers do surveys with Survey 123, they need to have the second to third tier of data management license with Esri, which ends up being it's $5,000 a license a year. It's not cheap. So this was a really good solution to find a free option for them to do field reporting in kind of a robust environment that they have their own licenses, they can manage this data, but they don't need to worry about providing licenses to all their field workers. 'Cause these are all volunteers, and they might be able to justify it. They get some pretty good funding, and all this is provided through a larger organization about clean rivers that provide to different organizations around the country. But, yeah, that's most of my summer.
How did you learn to use Survey 123?
Very, like, bashing my head into it over and over again. Like, it was an iterative process. I made a couple surveys for like field GIS that I wanted to figure out how to do kind of recording with Percy last year. Just doing like park data entry. We used a Venza in that class, and I didn't really feel like that was actionable to try to train all these people on how to use it, or Survey 123 was something that after looking through it a couple times, it was easy to be like, okay, I can make this design intuitive enough that someone at least can tell them really quickly how to use it, or they can figure it out. And I have some prior experience with just web stuff where it's easy enough for me to stumble through to success on these kinds of things. Creating the web maps has been an experience with my job. I work at the city of Wilsonville as an asset management and GIS technician. And there I'm making a lot of tools. We use Survey 123 for a couple things, for like our fields maintenance teams to identify where noxious weeds are in the city bed, like the planter beds and that kind of stuff. But it's been a lot of Googling and a lot of figuring it out on my own for some of the nitty-gritty stuff, like the conditional statements for this. I'm using another form of Survey 123 that has an external app. This is all built in the web version of the app, and there's another version that uses Excel to create all the forms, and you can do a little bit more robust calculations with that. Like I have some surveys that will pull the field worker's ID, put their name on it, they put the ID of what they're doing an inspection on, and they'll fill in all the information about that, and they can put that in. Unfortunately, wasn't able to confirm that I was allowed to show any of that stuff while I was here today, but maybe next time. Anything else? Questions?
What's that?
We got 25 minutes left.
Okay. Do you have a PowerPoint?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, that is easy to pull up.
Yeah, I can log in.
Sure. Well, since you don't have a PowerPoint, why don't you go next? And then while he's presenting, we'll pull up yours.
Thank you, Travis.
Well done.
Next, we will be hearing from Kyrian, talking about the project this summer.
Hi everyone, my name is Kyrian Nnadi. I'm a second year master student here in Geographic Information Science and Geography. And I'm one of the executives in the GIS Club. So, as we all know, we're talking about what we did this summer. Sorry, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation to make, and hopefully I'll try as much as possible to explain in details like what I did this summer. So I spent the summer working for PSU Landscape and Facilities and Properties and Management. So we took care of the school compound while you guys were enjoying the summer. So we make sure that we kept everywhere clean so that you come back to a beautiful and a satisfying environment. So, but during the process of working for them, so I was opportune to do what I love the most, which is carry out a survey for them. So I was actually looking into working on some irrigation projects with them. So eventually we got one at the Epler Hall behind the SROTC. There's a field there that there's no irrigation system there, and the grasses there are drying up. So they wanted to fix an irrigation there, but they don't know the actual boundary measurement of that particular place. So they had to, like, they came up with the idea. I was like, okay, I can actually do this for you. I can actually do the boundary survey and then help you people to fix the points where the pipeline will go, so that once the sprinklers come up, the water can be able to touch everywhere in the field. So we don't have the real-time kinetic equipment, which is the RTK, that normally I will go around, place it at each particular point. That will give me the exact coordinate, the real-time coordinates, which is actually easier, but I had to do it the hardest way, which is using the traditional method of surveying. So I had to go to the engineering department. They had a M3 total station, which I borrowed from them. So I set up the total station in a non-control point, backsighted another control point, in order to get the accurate, in order to tell the instrument where it is real time. So with that, I did what we call transverse survey. Transverse survey is like starting from one particular point, going around and ending in the same point. That is, we call that closed transverse. Then we have open transverse, where it's just like, it's basically used for road constructions because it doesn't end. But the transverse survey is more like used in boundary survey. So I carried out the survey, and then it was a success. So right now we are waiting for approval. So once they approve the project, we'll design it. I designed it using the AutoCAD. So when I collected the data, I actually did the manual computation, which is using the horizontal distance and the bearing to calculate for the coordinates. But first I had to know like one azimuth point, that is one control point. So I used it to calculate for the other coordinates. So, but the most important thing that I enjoyed that I did is when I plotted it in AutoCAD. So I got the shape of the property. So when I imported it to ArcGIS, it fell exactly at the point. Like I viewed it in ArcGIS, and then it fell exactly at the point. It didn't fall exactly at the point, but I had to like georeference, and then using I think I took one course on Esri's online. It's called like Arc to GIS, where I had to like use the beam connection. So I kind of like followed the whole process, and then at the end of the day, it aligned perfectly to what I was doing. So I mean, they were happy about it, so they were impressed about the project. So we are waiting for approval. Once we get it approved, then I will design it in AutoCAD and then do the staking out. So staking out is once I'm done designing where the pipes will go in AutoCAD, I will import the data to the total station and then do the staking out in the field. That is in exporting what I have on paper to the land. We call it staking out. So that is like one part of what I did for this summer. And then the second thing I did was my practicum project. So I'm opportune to, through connection from David, I was opportune to, I'm working with PCC, Portland Community College. So they have a survey class and they have a GIS class. So they are trying to see how they can, combine both classes, because it seems as if like in the survey class, they do more of like GIS courses. So they are trying to like, come up with something that will try to link both classes together. So I had a meeting with them. So I asked them, what do they want to do? What is the suggestion? So one of them, who was a drone operator, so he mentioned that he's been trying to see how he's going to link survey data, use it to the drone. Like he's trying to like see how to incorporate both of them in survey. So that brought me to like my practicum project, which is incorporating traditional method of surveying with GNSS and UAS. So GNSS is the global navigation. So we use the RTK, which is like the one that you carry around and get coordinates of the points. But there's a limitation to GNSS. The limitations is like if you go under a tree canopy, it's because of the lack of like internet connection, it's very difficult to connect with the satellite, and then it kind of like fluctuates. So you cannot use the RTK where you have like bush around, like a very thick tree canopy. So you cannot use the GNSS. The only thing you can use to get accurate points on ground is using the traditional method of survey, which is the total station survey. And then in the other hand, like where if you want to get like a quick view of the area and what it looks like, then you start thinking of using the drone survey. So all these things is what we are trying to combine together to see how effectively it can work in survey. So the purpose of my project is like incorporating traditional method of survey, GNSS, and drone mapping in land surveying. So most especially boundary survey, because we have a lot of surveys. We have topo survey where you get like the features, every feature on the earth surface. We have like vegetation survey, but what I'm looking at is boundary. That is to get the actual four corner boundary of a particular place. So for this project, for the summer, I've been going to PCC I saw the area. So we are going to be using the field. There's a field at the back of the department where we are going to be using for this practical project. So the aim is I will use the total station to get the boundary points of the area, and then also use GNSS and then drone to also fly the same area. So the purpose is like, as surveyors, we need more data to be available, not just as points, but also we need like visualization, like the auto photos. We need like 3D models of buildings before elevation data, vegetation, before construction can go on in a place. So with the precise measurement of the total station and then the visualization from the drone, honestly, this term I'm taking the photo and LiDAR class and also the remote sensing class, which I'm really happy about because it's almost everything I'm doing with my practicum. So it aligns with everything I'm doing with my practicum. So I get to learn how like remote sensing works. Like I also have to like the photogrammetry and LiDAR, how to process data, how it works. So which is going to be a very like useful technique that I'm going to be using for this project. So for the project, we'll do a boundary survey. Then we use drone to fly the same area. So I was writing the project and then I submitted this rough proposal to by advice of Geoffrey, which he discovered something because I discovered that drone cannot actually give you boundary limits. Like drone can just give you the area, but it cannot give you the exact boundary of a point, which at first I was thinking that using drone, you can actually get the boundary points, like, of an area. But I researched about it, I read about it, I asked like other colleagues in the profession, in surveying, and they said the same thing, like drone is just for visualization, to create DSM and DTM. So when I do the boundary survey, I will create a digital elevation model, I will create a DTM to see what actually the property looks like. So this helps in visualization before you carry out any project you want to carry out. And then also, another important thing we're going to be doing for them is establishing control points. So we're going to establish different ground control points around the field so that their students can use it like in field work. Whenever they want to work in the field, they can actually use it for working. And then we're also trying to create maybe a lab model. Maybe one of their, let's say like one of the undergrad classes or the grad classes, we're trying to create one lab model that incorporates GIS and survey so that they can use it as like a lab section. Maybe in one of the courses, like you can say, okay, this is lab 1, we're going to be doing this. So that is what I have for, that is my practicum project. So for now, we're still in I'm still writing the proposal. Hopefully I'll be done this week. And then I have a meeting with them on Thursday. I'll be going to BCC again this Thursday to finalize the drone mission. So, any question?
With the drafting software, were you learning that on this task, or did you have previous experience with it?
So I used the AutoCAD software. I had previous experience using the AutoCAD software. So but it's actually easy to go around. But the one of BIM, the one I talked about, like to transfer it from AutoCAD to ArcGIS, I had to learn it during the summer. It's on History's online course, and whatever, it's there. I had to learn it from there and then apply it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you use a DWG from CAD into Esri, or is there like a tool that?
Yeah, there's a tool.
Okay.
There's a tool that is called CAD to BIM or something. There's a tool I used. Yeah.
Did the engineering department already have control points for you, or did you have to establish them yourself?
So there's here in Portland, I've walked around and we have a lot of control points available. So at the back of the SROT, I saw 4 control points from KPFF, like one engineering firm here. So I saw like 2 control points, which I use.
Okay.
So, but if there's no control point, I would establish myself. But if I wanted to establish a control point, I would require the RTK, real-time kinetics,
Yeah.
to do that.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Or if I had a handheld GPS, although it may have an error of like minus plus 3, but
Mhm.
it will still be like close enough to, yeah.
Purposes, yeah.
Any other question?
Thank you, Kyrian, and Owen, and then Luke.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks. You wanna go
So,
on?
I believe you'll just press the on button there, and then it'll bring up your beautiful PowerPoint.
Got it. Yes, very beautiful. How long do you want me to talk for? Probably.
My phone is.
It's 3:19.
319.
Okay.
I can make mine 5 if you don't make yours 5.
All right, cool.
This would go longer.
Hit the on button, but it's not on.
Is
All
it?
right, it's warm enough.
It's warm.
Oh yeah.
Great.
So 3 minutes maybe.
Cool. Okay. Everybody, I'm Owen. I'm here doing I'm done with the GIS certificate, but I'm still around because I'm working on this project with David. It'll pop up in a second, but this is the Student Atlas of Oregon. It's a teaching aid for students 5th grade and up. So David and a group of students have done 2 drafts of this. Now this moves. This is the third revision that David and Aaron and one other student and I are working on. So we've got like a committee of teachers that's advising, and we're making the maps. So this book has like 70-ish different maps of all sorts of different information about Oregon, things that like elementary, middle school students can use to learn geography. Here's just an example of the kind of map that's in there. It's just different watersheds and rivers in the state of Oregon. Kids can use this to learn these names and learn, how different things are represented on different maps. So we're going through, we're updating some old maps and creating some new ones. So this is a map of earthquake hazards from the 2015 version of the Atlas, which is pretty good in a lot of ways, but it has a couple of things like it's got green indicating more serious earthquake, and yellow-orange indicating less serious, which I think is inexcusable. This has been a really interesting project for me because I'm not really an aesthetic person at all, but I do like quantitative information and learning more about, cartography is all about like visual display of quantitative information. Figuring out how to use those things has been really rewarding for me. So this is my version of the same map. It's got somewhat newer data. And the other thing that we don't like about this old map is this likelihood you would feel an earthquake is weird and ambiguous. And since this map was made, the USGS has come out with like a really good earthquake intensity damage risk index.
Yours seems more colorblind friendly too.
Oh yeah, cool.
Red and green, the other one,
Mhm.
it's all one color.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's good. I'll stick with the pinks. But yeah. So I've got like, more reasonable color ramp for graduated earthquake intensity, some other labels on it, a better earthquake severity index, and some explanation of what this all means that hopefully is in terms that children can understand. This one issue we've had on this project is sort of going back and forth over who's going to like write the copy, because I don't have any background in education, but these teachers do, but they don't really want to have to write the stuff that goes on our maps. So some back and forth.
We're working it out.
Yeah, we had a 6-hour meeting in this very room a month and a half ago to go over all of our drafts. So it's coming. This is another one of the older maps that needed some updates. We didn't like how, fish catches in the state of Oregon. But this map along the side here, it's like, it says that, this many shrimp were caught in Charleston, but like, presumably some shrimp were caught in some other places, and, maybe Gold Beach caught the most rockfish of anywhere else, but presumably they caught more of some other kind of fish, so we don't really know why it's just rockfish on there. And also this shrimp clearly has writing in some Asian language on it. It's not the kind of shrimp we have here. So this is my version of the map. It's got, the pie chart is a work in progress. I don't have Excel, so I only have Google Sheet that has bad pie charts. But I got some better images. I got data that's more updated, and having a bunch of different maps here lets us kind of show the distributions of the catches of these different kind of fish in a way that makes a little more sense and conveys some better information. And then this is one of the all-new maps that I created. The teachers wanted this map of like how Oregon got its borders, or maybe this is your idea. Was this your idea?
No, they wanted this one.
Yeah.
I don't know how they want to use it, but
yeah. So sort of where all
It's
these
highly
things came
conceptual.
from. Yeah. But I came up with the idea of like color coding the different portions of the border with like so like I've got the Columbia River all in pink here, where it's bold, where it's a part of Oregon's border. That's going the same thing with the Snake and the latitude lines. And I wrote a bunch of sentences that I hope someday some teacher will revise for me.
That's good.
But that's what I did there. You want to?
I'd be happy to jump in if you want to keep going,
Cool.
you can.
Yeah. Though I have to complain about one other thing here. This is for the original atlas. We've got these dot density maps, so showing how many hundreds of thousands of pounds of grapes were produced in all different Oregon counties. This data comes from the National Agricultural Statistics Survey, which was most recently done in 2022. So we wanted to use the new data, which looks like this. And you may notice that for many major crops, they're not reporting pounds harvested anymore. It's only number of farms and acres cultivated for each crop, which are not units you can put on a dot density map. No.
super annoying.
I made a couple of them because we had useful information for these things, but for all of these different fruit crops that we'd like to do, they don't have it. So
Data collection will defeat you.
yeah, I've experimented with some things.
You have to ballpark how many apples farmed per acre.
I spent some time thinking about that. I don't. There's like 10 different crops. What are yields based for? Can I look up like? I spent a lot of time actually trying to find like average yield per acre for different crops in 2022, but I don't think I can get useful numbers.
Actually, the teachers want these maps more than anything else. They love teaching agriculture. So.
Yeah. So none of these concepts seem good. So, I don't.
Work in progress.
Work in progress, but the other maps are going well. I've working on a lot of different maps for that, and they're all fine and coming along, except for the agriculture data, which is my real sticking point.
I think the fishing map was a huge improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Looks great.
Yeah, I like that one.
And you do get a good chance of convincing the teachers why your maps are better than what's there.
Yeah.
What's the state vegetable of Oregon?
We have a state vegetable?
Yeah.
I don't
Every
know.
state
It's
has
the
a vegetable.
potato.
Oh,
Just the-
wow.
Really, potato?
That doesn't make a lot of sense.
You heard it here first.
Kentucky's is watermelon.
I don't know.
That makes more sense. Cool. That's what I got.
Thank you.
It is close to the time we said we'd end. I won't be offended if anyone has to leave. I'm not mad about it, guys. My project this summer was to create for the first time a website that I can use as a portfolio. So I had, let me see if I can get the right one up. I had a pretty wimpy portfolio. Also, I'm Luke. I'm in a master's, my second year. I had a really wimpy portfolio that I'm going to pull up. Look at that. Hold on. That's just my face. That's not my portfolio. It's got nothing on it. It's really lame. I have a few links to a couple of things that are geographic. It's nice. You can embed things like an interactive map from Esri. You can do stuff like that. So I had a couple things on it that were kind of interactive, but I've been thinking in the back of my mind, I have an art license right now. I'm enjoying it as a student. Probably not going to have it forever. I'm not going to be a student forever. Eventually my art license I'm going to have to pay for, or if I don't, all these things are going to vanish. So stepping way back to before I started at PSU to learn about GIS, I started out a project in QGIS, making a map, making a tool. It's a pretty involved scripting tool that is, let me see if I can find it, creates things like this. So this is an isochrone map using transit, so not live data, but using static transit information from TriMet. How far can you reach by walking and transit from, in this case, a variety of points, skate parks. Make them up like that. This is a really cool tool that I spent a long time working on in Python. And I was like, I really think it's a useful thing to show off, but it's too bad I can't make it interactive because the whole point is like I wanted it to be a tool someone can use. How can I get that done? How can I get that done is by making a whole website backend that lets me show off to people. So my whole project this summer was bringing over from QGIS a tool. So I have a server. It's kind of hard to explain the whole thing. I have a nice front end. There's a bunch of things I need to fix in the front end. It's not quite done yet, but I have a front end that has a leaflet map. I can interact with my leaflet map, and suddenly my leaflet map can interact with the back end, which has a QGIS instance running in the background. So I can send information and request geoprocessing tools. I can run my script from QGIS, from a headless QGIS instance. So there's just my server is just sitting there waiting to get requests, and then it says, oh, I got a request. Let me go start QGIS, give it my series of inputs for my script, run my script, and it goes crazy and does its stuff, and it ends up like this. So you can have a live interactive map that shows you, cool, from that location I can reach some stuff. For example, we could find, I don't know, PSU over here. I do worry about running this for too long. My initial, I think on my desktop, I can run it for 60 minutes was my goal, which ends up being like, you can reach most of Portland in 60 minutes, it turns out. And it takes forever because my script is very poorly written, but I'm finding out on my server I'm not paying for enough CPU and RAM. And it starts to get really bogged down and freaking out, and then it will eventually crash. So I'm gonna probably do it something safe and do it like, show me like a 15-minute from there. But
What's speed?
huh?
What's speed?
Speed is your walking speed. So if you have like, for example, if you like know you're gonna bike somewhere, you can say, I wanna run this tool, but I bike at probably like 10 kilometers an hour instead of 5. But I think like the average like walking velocity ends up being around 5 kilometers an hour. So, and actually I think that variable doesn't do anything right now. I think that I have a hard coded in the back, so it doesn't really matter.
Are you running the headless QGIS like locally, or do you have like an AWS instance? Or something?
I am running it, so it's not on the client, it's on the viewer on the website, but I do have, I can actually pull it up, I think I have it open. Oh, I don't. Oh, I did, but I think I was monitoring my memory usage, but it is, yeah, I just have like the server itself, my computer that I'm paying for out there, $2 a month, has the web server, and the web server does I'm going to run a process, like a sub-process, go run the sub-process, give me the process ID, and I'm just gonna monitor what it puts out, and that's how I get these things like my strings that print out all the fancy crazy stuff. So anyway, this is the web project that I've been working on for a long time. There's a lot to do with it still. I think this is like the most polished of anything I have. There's other things that I have not finished. Like there is a space for me to go to do another project that I have already done. I did a transit, two things that are related. Another one I want to put on here, this is a map of like how well connected is each census block in Portland to transit. So like this is not a great map as a static map, because like if I live here, I want to see, okay, I'm like light purple, but like which lines is that? I want to have an interactive component where you can click on a cell or on a census block and be able to view if you're close to the 6 and the 12 and the whatever it is. And a similar idea for the transit routes. This is how well connected each route is. This would be nice. It would make a lot more sense if it was interactive and you could go in and check on your routes and see, oh, this route is really well connected. I wonder what it is. And you click on it. It says, I'm the 12 and I'm connected to this, this, and this. So I've got more future projects, but I have the backbone of like a site that I could do a lot with, because if I wanted to run more tools, I have the capacity to run more tools. It can still do things like, I think I probably have it up on the other one. You can still do things like embed other ARC tools. If you do still have ARC tools, like while I do right now, because I still have a license, I can still embed it in my site, which looks nice and fancy, because ARC does a really good job. Esri's really good at making web tools. Like their web tools, I don't complain about them. I just wish they were open source and free so I can keep using them. But they do look pretty, so I'll keep it on my website as long as I can. I'm trying to think of other things like that were involved in this. I could talk all day about like the back end of it. Like I have the code sitting around somewhere, but the actual back end of how the processing script works is really involved and a headache to talk about, but I'd be happy to. But that is the main thing I've been doing this summer, and probably going to continue.
Flask and React?
Is Flask.
Okay.
Yeah, the Flask is the Python backend that supports, I can actually pull it up, supports like how I'm running, like basically from the client, how things are going to get handled and stuff. So it comes in and I say, oh cool, I'm going to handle this website traffic in such a way, and I'm going to pull up this HTML form and handle it in this, that, and the other way, and send requests out and stuff. I just tossed a lot at you though. Are there any questions, or should we just get out of here?
Hey, so,
Oh.
nice t-shirt, why don't you, what's that all about?
So PSU GIS Club t-shirt, while we're plugging about it, last week we did a map quilt. We all did a square on the back of such a shirt like this. This is Portland visualized, and we're probably going to do another one this year with maybe a different geographic location or maybe a different theme. But yeah, we're probably going to do another project like that this year. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but hopefully we'll get more shirts because shirts are cool.
So Luke, can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about the network data set used in the analysis?
Yeah.
Is that something hosted on your local server, or you connect to a web service?
That's a good question. I was actually just thinking about today. It is a local one. So what I did was, so actually I should have pulled it up. TriMet has a bunch of their data sets available, which is nice. They have developer tools. They have a bunch of stuff available, so this is something that this is actually good to talk about. It's like anyone can go do this stuff, anyone can go pull a lot of their things. So they have the routes, they have the stops per route. What they don't have in there, what I was really needed for mine, was any of these layers with times that matter, because my tool needs like, what is the velocity of each route? What is the headway? So if I'm at a stop, is it going to come in 15 minutes or 10 minutes, or what is the average wait time? None of that stuff was in there. So I had to go do, I think I could find it if I wanted to, but it's in a zip file in here, is basically just a massive text file. They do a bunch of, yeah, it's this one. They give you a bunch of stuff that isn't, it's like, it could have been geographic, but they literally just have a massive file that the very, very first thing I had to do when I was making this tool originally was pull out in one of these text files. I wrote a Python script just to like digest this text file, because you're gonna see it in a second. It's like really kind of unclear what you're doing, but it's like, here are times that each bus is reaching each stop. Here's what, like the route, the trip ID, and other details about it. So I had to use all of that, pull it out, and then basically have a table that I would join as attributes to the routes. So I had to pull non-geospatial data and then pull it in and bring it into the attributes for the routes, which is a headache, but I didn't think of another way to do it. I think I could have if I really wanted to, and I might one day go back. If you set up your app with TriMet, they give you, like, you register it, you have an app ID, you're like officially recognized by them. You get 1 million requests a day, which I think at the time I just didn't want to do. But I think I could probably do it. Like if I ran, I think this actually tells you in here. So this was 500, it's like close to 600 searches on like a not huge search. I was thinking, I'm writing this really inefficiently. I might actually hit that million, but I might not. Like, if I really wanted to, I could probably reinvent this to be a live tool. Right now it's not live, I just had that static times that were, I chose around 2 o'clock. It seems like the most buses are leaving their stations, so that's the best time to be like running a pretend simulation. This is all static data. It's not true like at this exact moment, but I probably could rewrite it if I really wanted to be live, which would probably be a cooler tool. You could be like, I want to leave at 7 in the morning. What's the accurate time at 7 in the morning? Where I could reach. A future iteration I think would be really interesting.
Have you ground truthed any of this?
No, but I have like Google Map truthed it, so I can on Google Maps I can go check. Okay, cool. From my location, I can reach. And it was actually pretty accurate for like when I was actually really building the tool like years ago. It's relatively accurate, but the problems are because I'm averaging the velocity across the whole route. It ends up being too fast in the city and then too slow when it gets further out. Like there's a couple routes that like, I think the 16 goes all the way up over here, and all of this stretch on the northwest is super fast, and all their stretch in downtown is actually much slower. But I think on the tool it's the opposite because it just averages.
Is this map walking?
It can be, yes. This is walking and transit. So if you did like a
That's
spot
walking.
with no transit.
I was just saying that I was going out to Beaverton. I was like, I can't walk that fast.
No. But if you just did like where there's probably no transit, it will probably just return you. Here's where you could walk in 20 minutes or whatever. Yes, questions?
How can students who are not currently involved in the GIS club get involved in the GIS
That's a
club?
great question. Glad you asked. We have a Discord. I don't know if anyone here is Discord users. We have a Discord that we're trying to get people into. It is a nice place to just hang out and chat about stuff. We're trying to organize things like, for some of our professors have classes that are online. If you wanted us to come and hang out, I think actually you already did it. You put a message in the Slack, I believe.
Yes.
Anyway, we're gonna have other things like that as a place to, if you're working on things, gather into the Discord and come chat, or keep your eyes peeled in Discord for other announcements, because that's where we end up posting things.
We also have a sign-up sheet. So if you want to hear what we have coming up, stay involved, maybe suggest something that you'd like to see, feel free to put down your name and email,
Yeah.
which will be up here at the front.
Do you have a website?
Well, sign sheet.
We're working on our website. PSU Connect just came out with a new interface, and yeah, we're working our way through it, getting that set up.
You used to have a Slack workspace. Do you still have it?
Good question.
Not that I've seen.
So no.
And based on the sign-up sheet, I infer that you have a mailing list.
Yes, we
Yes.
do keep a mailing list. Or we should. I think we are. I'll make sure we are.
If everyone wouldn't mind actually signing this, this is the event sign-in sheet
Yeah.
on the way out.
If you're doing name and email?
Yes.
Yeah. I think, I was gonna say, like, if you do want to keep
Pass
up
it
with
around, or
us.
should I put it on the table?
I can put it on the table, fine.
Table.
I was gonna say, if there's an email in there, leave your email. But Mark, if you do want us to email you, if you like want updates, check the box or something, 'cause I don't want to.
Or that. Thank you all for coming. I very much appreciate it.